Hi, welcome back to Family and Fit, where we talk fitness and how to integrate it in your busy lifestyle. So today we'll be talking about steroids and what my viewpoint is on them. Will I ever do them? What do I think about steroids in the fitness industry? First of all, do I do steroids? No, I do not. It's something that I think almost every person kind of contemplates doing. They kind of joke around about doing, and it's very tempting because why not, be able to get extra gains that you would not have normally got, and why not put yourself above other people and be the best version of yourself. So in that aspect, I really kind of, it's hard to lean away from doing steroids just because the fact that you're leaving so much progress on the table, and you're limiting yourself to your genetic potential versus really being no limit as far as how big you can become and then how great a shape you can be in by doing steroids. Nonetheless, if you're doing steroids, you can potentially be more lean and then also be more jacked and be able to be like that year round and be able to eat however you want and not have to worry about counting your calories as much, because you'll be able to consume a crap ton of calories throughout a day, just because when you're on steroids your metabolism is so much higher. I mean, there's a lot of people that consume 3, 4, 5 thousand calories a day, and sometimes even more than that for people who are already at an elite level. So it's super crazy what you can kind of get away with when you're on steroids. Now, there's a couple reasons why I don't do steroids for me, and a lot of it is crossing that natty limit. For those people who are natural, they have what's called the natty limit, where for those people that are natty, aka natural, non-steroid users, there's a sense of overcoming and well-being just due to the fact that you're able to overcome on a daily basis making a decision like jumping over to doing steroids. And like I said, with all the positive things that I just mentioned, it can be very tempting. Now, there are a lot of negative things that can go along with it as well, but I think my biggest thing, and I think a lot of naturals' biggest thing, is they don't want to cross that line of after you go from being natural to doing steroids for one single time. Research pretty much shows that you physically never truly go back to the exact same body chemical makeup, and you can have hormone levels off. You can just have all your levels off for the entirety of your life, and it may be in a positive way, maybe in a negative way, but the point being is after you decide to make the decision, or after you make the decision to do steroids, you can't come back from it and then say, oh, now you're natty again. It doesn't really work like that. It's kind of one of those things after you break past it, you broke past it. And now there's other things out on the market like SARMs, which are supposed to be a research drug type of steroid, which are legal right now. They're not technically supposed to be for consumption. They're supposed to be for scientific use. And that was something I really contemplated, because some people were talking about having really great results off of them, and their risk level is way lower than doing steroids. But it goes back to the thing of not wanting to cross the natural limit. Now, what do I think that I will ever do steroids in my life? I want to say no. I definitely do want to say no, but there may reach a point in time that I want to. I think one thing that kind of sets me apart from some people on not ever wanting to do steroids, I've only been working out a couple years now. My physique already looks really good for the amount of time that I put in, and I can just tell with my smaller frame that it's not going to be hard for me to have that nice athletic build and essentially get to that bodybuilder looking status within 4 or 5 years. I'm not one of those people that needs to put on a huge amount of mass. There's some people who are natural lifters and they just look too big as they are, and it's because they're short and just have a stockier build to them, so that they have huge amounts of muscles. Whenever your muscles roll up and they're the size of your head. My arms really ain't all that big right now. I've not really done any arm training, but they're decent size from putting in as little effort as I have into them. With people who are shorter, a lot of times you could get to a point where you look like you have too much muscle, or why is this dude even still working out? Because now he's starting to get into that weird looking stage. I think a lot of people that do steroids are in that weird stage, especially at the most elite levels. But then there's also people who are like the genetically short people, and they kind of look weird at a natural level. So if you're like somebody that's super tall, you could look a lot better on genetics and look more like a Goliath or whatever. But for a shorter person, I think we're able to look way more muscular and way bigger in comparison to our body size, to our muscle mass. So that's a big reason why I would never really want to. I think Clenbuterol is one of them that is for like shredding and keeping lean. That one has been like probably the biggest contemplator for me, because I really do struggle with staying lean. It's still something that, like, I don't think I would do, but if I reached a point in my like fitness career, fitness journey, and I'm like 5-10 years out or whatever, I still struggle with fat loss, then I might contemplate it a little bit more. But right now, it's highly likely that once I reach my genetic potential, or getting closer to my genetic potential, that I will be able to consume a lot more calories, and it won't be hard for me to keep the fat off my stomach like it is now. Which I've noticed even over the course of this past 2 years, I can eat way, way more than what I could before, and not have to worry about putting on a heck of a lot of fat. Now, I've also built in a lot of staple products and staple foods that I eat on a daily basis, so that way I don't really have to track my macros or track my calories, and I kind of just know what I'm eating, and I can kind of substitute this and I can kind of substitute this item for this item and just know what I'm doing, and not really have to recalculate everything and not throw my macros off for the day. Let's go ahead and get into what I think about steroids and within the fitness industry. I think it's okay for people who are admittedly doing steroids. Like, I'm not mad at you at all. Like, if you chose to do steroids, like, hey, why do I care? It's not my body. If you want to cross that line, that's on you. And, I respect both sides, I respect the side of staying natty and not wanting to cross that line, and I respect the side of somebody wanting to have the most potential success they possibly can, which is ultimately why people want to do steroids. Either that, or they want to be lazy and not do as much work and still get the same results. One of the two. But needless to say, I don't think it truly becomes any issue with people in the fitness industry doing steroids unless they're lying about it, or unless they're hiding it and not being straightforward about it, which I could see that being really hard as like an influencer. I couldn't imagine myself being on steroids for a long period of time and then not telling you guys, and then I have to just come out with it. I think that'd be a super, super big struggle, and I don't know if I would even be able to do it myself. Maybe that's part of the reason why I would never do steroids, but there's so many people in the fitness industry that are jacked, and there's been people that have slowly kind of came out over the years where they've claimed natty for a long period of time, and then they go ahead and confess that they weren't. And the main problem with that is so many people are looking at this physique and trying to admire to be like that. And it's okay to inspire to be like that. It's okay to inspire to be like somebody else, or have the same genetics as somebody, and have the same physique as somebody else. But you have to be careful and look at the time frame at which they did it. And a lot of this can even go back into stuff like, with genetics and whatnot. Like, some people are just genetically elite. I have a couple buddies that they can go throw up 350 pounds on a bench press. They can not work out for 3 years and lift almost as much as I lift. And that's just how their genetics are. They're built to be beasts, and really nothing you can do about it. And the same thing kind of goes with the whole steroid thing. Like, if somebody's doing steroids and you're not, there's nothing you can really do about that other than do steroids yourself. You don't necessarily want to just jump on that bandwagon just because, oh, this person looks like that and I want to look like them. Just because the genetics in there as well. You could do steroids and still never look as good as somebody else. The thing is mainly you got to admire your own physique and start to find the things that you like about your body, the things that you don't like about your body, and put extra work into those areas. That way you maximize the things that you do like, and you try to improve on the things that you don't like. And so I think with people getting the misconception of how much progress you can potentially make, it's like there's a lot of people around me that are like, they may make comments of like, oh, well, like, you've only made this much progress in 2 years. And it's just because they don't understand like how long it takes muscle to grow, and they don't understand all the dynamic variables. And I've definitely came to the conclusion that I'm way more of a slower muscle grower, and I'm also a grower, not a shower. So like I'm way more massively, I'm much more massive whenever I have got a pump, and it's like night and day, especially when I'm like at the end of like a 2-hour workout or something like that. It's ridiculous. Like I can't even compare my two physiques to each other. It's such a dramatic change, especially whenever I'm really lean. But there's so many variables in there that is people just don't understand. And like I said, my conclusion is that I just genetically do not grow muscle fast. I keep my diet on point with my protein levels being high, eating a sufficient amount of calories, and there are other variables in there as well. Like I cut for long periods of time that I probably shouldn't have. But it was my own insecurities that I had to deal with, and I had to get myself to a body fat percentage that I was comfortable with. And so going through that process, and then also like when going into a bulk, not going to maybe in a high enough calorie surplus, or keeping my protein levels high enough, and just trying to do it more intuitively, because I've always practiced the intuitive approach, but over the years I've gotten the ability to be more intuitive about things and not have to think about them, and just be able to make a decision as far as swapping this food with this food and being correct about it. Whereas before, like I may have swapped a higher protein food for a food that I thought was higher protein that wasn't. So I'm definitely way more on track with this bulk here. I'm staying fairly lean. Like it's almost like a recomp. I'm just slowly getting bigger. My numbers are going up on the scale, but my abs are not really going away too awfully bad, especially for being like 2 months in and have gained like 10 pounds. It actually has been probably especially being like 3 months in and gained about 10 pounds. It's almost like a perfect number. You want to gain about 1 pound or 2 per week whenever in a bulk. So get off topic here. The overall point of this is everybody's different. You got to focus on you. You can't worry about what somebody else is doing. Don't let somebody else's decisions skew your decisions. Choose what you think is going to be right for you. And if you're even contemplating doing steroids yourself, maybe stretch it out for a couple years. Maybe that decision will change, but you don't want to go right off the gun and decide that you're going to do something like that, and then it'd be something that you can't truly ever take back. So hopefully this video was a good little insight for you, good little talk with you guys. Make sure to hit that subular button and the notification bell next to it, so that way you get notifications when we post every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I may or may not be doing a 10K challenge soon. If you don't know what 10K challenge is, 10,000 calories, not 10,000 miles. 10,000 calorie challenge. I'm trying to get my cousin to get in on it with me. He said, can we eat Big Macs? I think we might eat some Big Macs or two. So we're going to try to do this 10,000 calorie challenge. We're going to try to get my cousin involved in on it just for the fun of it. So you can see 2 people eat 10,000 calories. Guys, thanks for sticking around if you stuck around to the end, and I'll catch y'all in the